Hello, hello, hello. We are live, live, live. I am here. Hi. Let me introduce myself. If you're watching this for the first time, my channel for the first time, my name is Rashida Dow. I am a career break coach. You can find me at rashidadow.com. My sign is cut off today, but don't worry. You can find me, rashidadow.com. I am the founder of a move abroad and career break program called From Abroad to Bliss. But more importantly, today, I am the co-founder of Exodus Summit, which is a online summit that gives Black women the tools they need to move abroad and take career breaks. Very excited to be today with someone who has here with Sacheen, who has been to 3 summits in the past. So we're going to talk to her about her experience with summits, what they have given her, and really about if she's been to 3 summits or this is her 3rd summit, she's been thinking or planning to move abroad for over 3 years now, at least 3 years. So we're going to talk about what that experience looks like when you do it. I'm not going to say at a slow speed, but at a considered pace. A considered pace is what we'll say. So Sheen, come on with your communications degree and make it sound.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Rashida, and somewhere out there will be Stephanie. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. I'm ready to jump in and tell you why I think it's a fantastic summit and why, whether you're moving fast or slow, the dream is not deferred. It's just coming. You just got to keep going. It's just coming.
All right. Adelia described it as a measured pace. So yes.
Measured pace. Hi, Adelia. Yes.
Measured pace. So in 2021, you were already considering moving abroad or taking a career break?
In 2021, let me back up to 2020. Because we all know what happened in 2020. Yes. The world decided to act a fool. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, I started thinking long and hard about, did I want to have to return to, I'm an educator by profession. I teach college. And I was trying to decide what to do next with my life because I was very disenchanted with the state of higher education. Mm-hmm. And so in 2020, I don't know if it was 2020, late 2020, early 2021, I stumbled across this channel and this woman named Stephanie Perry. And I was like, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're doing, but I like you. So I'm just going to watch your stuff. I had no interest in house sitting. I had no interest in career breaks, which I found you through her. I had no interest in any of it, but I knew I needed something else. I needed something different. The call of the wild was inside of me saying, there has got to be more than this.
The call of the wild. Let me make it down. Okay. All right.
Yes. I'm a person who likes to pick up her hobo stick and wander around the country. I'm originally from the Midwest. I bounced from there to Puerto Rico. I bounced from there to Washington State. I bounced from there to New York. So moving around wasn't an issue, but it never occurred to me I could leave the country. I don't know why. It's just another bounce, right? But it never occurred to me I could leave the country. And then I started watching Stephanie and I'm like, how are you doing that? Wait, really? And so that was the beginning of this idea that if I could figure out a way to focus my life and put myself on a path with my child to get us out of the country, I like that. I like the idea of living someplace with a little less onus on being who I am and a more relaxation of being what I want to be, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does. Were there specific benefits that you thought you were going to get from the move? A move abroad?
Okay. Absolutely. My initial, the very first time I actually ever thought about living abroad was years and years and years ago before I had my son. At that point, when I was single and still mingling in the world, mm-hmm. I was going to be footloose and fancy free, living all over the place. Didn't happen that way. But my first thought was to move to Dubai because I had a friend there. And I wanted to a place where I could be a Black woman without feeling like I was constantly under the microscope for being a Black woman. And then that all fell through. Fast forward to when I went to Puerto Rico, and that was my first taste of not living on the mainland. I wanted to not feel like I was the only Black person within a 50-mile radius who understood the concept of being a Black person.
Mhm.
And so I thought if I could move amongst people where I could be amongst Black women who didn't feel like they were always standing out, that would be great. Well, Puerto Rico taught me a different story. That's for another day. So fast forwarding to when I found Stephanie, what I realized what I really wanted was ease and freedom, but I needed to have them on my terms. And I needed to have them in a way that allowed me to be my bougie self. And moving abroad would allow me to become more of my bougie self. And because I now have a child, I want to be able to give him some things that I feel like in the United States he just doesn't have as easy of an access to as he would in other places. And so as I started counting the costs of staying versus the cost of leaving, the costs of staying are just so high compared to the cost of leaving. I can get so much more for the money that I have. I can have a peace that is unparalleled in the fact that I don't have to look over my shoulder. And more importantly, I don't have to look over my son's shoulder all the time. And that's really important to me as a single mom, raising a son. I don't want him to have to look over his shoulder all the time because he happens to have a Black mom. Like, he's a biracial child and he's going to have that whole reality to have to deal with. But he has a Black mother. And that's always going to be his reality in the States. He'll be forever known for having the Black mother as opposed to just being a boy who happens to be 10, living in a world that doesn't appreciate it.
Okay. When you imagine the life your son could live abroad,
Oh, yes.
what do you imagine for him?
I imagine for him, this is going to sound so silly.
We're here. Come on.
I imagine me sitting in a flat in either Paris or a villa in Mexico or a beautiful apartment and him calling me at midnight going, Mama, I'm going to go hang out with my friends and do X, Y, and Z. And I don't have to worry.
Okay.
And I don't have to worry. I can just be like, okay, well, try not to get in too much trouble. I know you won't because you're my kid. I imagine him being able to walk the streets as a young Black man and not feel as though there's a target on his back, calling me from some little shop he's found or some place. I'm the mama who's like, I'm going to send him abroad for a year because I want him to understand what it feels like to not have to live under the bubble. Mm-hmm. So if I just live abroad, I don't have to send him abroad. I can just be like, I'm close at home. Right. I can see where he is, but he's out there, he's doing his thing. He's fine.
So you want to raise a free Black boy?
I want to raise a very free and joyful Black boy. Absolutely.
All right. Well, yay. Do you have an idea of where you want to go?
So I've narrowed it down to 4 possibilities because I listen to Stephanie and Rashida and Adelia, and I listen to Do Your Homework, and I follow a couple other people. So I haven't been to any of these places yet. This is my beginning phases of figuring it out. First is Mexico. Mm-hmm. I follow you in Mexico City. I follow a couple people in Merida. Merida seems hot though. We'll talk about that later. Mexico, Portugal. Sorry, my brain just did a complete freezer. Portugal, potentially the Silver Coast, is looking very interesting to me. I don't know what part of Mexico yet. I'm still figuring that part out. My son really loves Japanese culture, so I'm considering Osaka.
Okay.
Potentially, I'm not so sure how that would work out, but I'm interested in that possibility. And then I have always loved Greece, and so that's the 4th choice. Okay. So it's down on the list of the choices there.
All right.
Yes,
I don't want business, but I'm getting your business real quick. All right. Your dreams of moving abroad,
yes,
had a bit of a setback.
Several.
Let's talk about Several. Let's talk about it. Where do we want to start?
We want to start with when I first started about going to Dubai.
Okay.
This would have been 2010, 2011, early years before I met my ex-husband. Mm-hmm. And then I had a kid. Mm-hmm. So first dream deferred was because I got married and I had a child. I was living in Washington State at the time. Thought I'd be married forever, don't we all? Didn't realize I was going to be, it was going to end. And so I made a commitment to live my life a certain way. And I made that commitment to stay. And then when that commitment fell through, I had to put my life back together. So in 2012, my son was born. By 2016, I was divorced. So then I had to really put my life back together. moved from Washington State to New York, 3,300 miles from one end of the coast to the next,
Mm-hmm.
and then spent the next. So then I thought, okay, we're in New York now. I can go anywhere from here. JFK is right there, International Airport. I can be in France in 6 hours. That's really one of the reasons why I picked the East Coast, because I thought I could be in Europe in like 6 hours. That's a 6 hour flight. Because what people don't realize is that it's the same distance to go backwards to the West Coast from New York as it is to go to Europe. So if you just keep going, you could be in a whole nother country. Woo! I was so excited. And then my ex-husband took me back to court literally every year for 4 years. So setback number two was the finances. I just couldn't afford to travel. Absolutely couldn't afford to do it. So then in 2021, 2020, this thing called the pandemic hit. And I had no choice but to sit down because court was closed. Hallelujah. Didn't stop him, but at least court was closed. But I could sit down and go, I don't want to live like this. Like I knew this was just a season. I knew it would end at some point. And I get to decide what happens next. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know the roadmap was possible. Like when I found you all, I didn't know this roadmap was even possible, like working online because exclusively, YouTube, house sitters, none of this career break. What are you talking about? I'm a professor. Nobody takes career breaks. We die in our chairs, right? I mean, I didn't think any of that was possible, but I found out that it was. So then when the world shut down, which was kind of the hiccup number 3 for all of us, it gave me an opportunity to just reassess what was really important to me.
Okay. Can we talk about your husband here, your ex-husband here?
We are more than welcome to.
Y'all know what I'm thinking already, right? Y'all, let's together. I'm setting out the vibes. Y'all got me? Y'all got me. You still want to move, but you can't, right?
I had made that clear when we got married that I had intended to only be in Washington State for about 5 years. And then I wanted, if we were going to have a family, fine, but families can move too. That was my thought process. Families can travel. There's nothing wrong with that. So my thought process was that I would get married, but I wouldn't be beholden to one area of the country. That is not quite how it turned out.
Okay.
Because ultimately, he was not quite as honest as he could have been about his intentions. So in the end, I was like, well, that's unfortunate. Time to go. So that's what I had to do. And I don't mean to sound flippant about it, but honestly, I was very clear from the offset. I can't see myself living in the middle of central Washington for the rest of my life. Y'all think Washington is beautiful? It is in Seattle. I lived in the desert. Right? Yes, ma'am.
All trees. It's everywhere.
No, ma'am. There is a whole on the east side of that mountain range. There's a whole desert with tumbleweeds and all kinds of nonsense. I lived at the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, and I used to say there are 2 seasons in this town: winter and fire season, and I'm over both of them. So
worst and the worst.
I mean, I would be cold and then it would be fire. I'm just like, how is this fair? I left the Midwest to get away from the sky falling. I come out here and the sky's burning. I don't understand the problem here.
I don't like it. I don't like it. All right. And so now you would take your son and go.
If I could. Yes.
Game.
Let's keep talking about that ex-husband, shall we? So no, I don't mind this because I honestly, if I could say one thing to any mother out there who's dealing with a father, a father of a child who is less than agreeable on most days of the week. Yes, he has the right of refusal for if I move outside of the country, for me taking that. I can go anywhere, but he has the right of refusal for the child. To move outside the country. Within the country, I can go anywhere I want to. But to leave the country, I actually have to get a court order allowing me to do so on a permanent basis.
Is that something you're interested in pursuing?
Oh, absolutely. My plan has gone from, there's a really great YouTuber that I sometimes watch who talks about collapsing time. I used to have a 10-year plan, which would make my son 20 because he's 10 this year. I now have a 5-year plan. I see no reason to wait 10 years to get this done. Where I needed to wait until my son was a bit older so that he could articulate his wants and desires to a judge. now that he can do so, and I've strategically positioned my life in certain ways to show that if we did move, there would be no major disruptions. So, for instance, I've homeschooled him the entire time. So he's not had a community, because that's one of the arguments against allowing children to move is that they establish a community. They're established within a community. So took it upon myself to homeschool and hire tutors when I could, and to position us to be in a place where I could say to a court, hey, look, nothing in his life would be disrupted. It took a lot of sacrifice over the past 6 years to get to this point. But that's why I can say confidently that I can now collapse that time from a 10-year window of leaving to 5 years, hopefully. Okay. Hopefully in 5 years we're out.
All right.
I know there's a lot there.
There was a lot there. And I think the mothers in the comments are gonna have something to say. I try to stay out of mother's business besides telling you to leave the man, go live your life.
I get that part.
I don't know, but that's all I got for y'all. I think the moms in the comments. Shauna said she relocated from Alabama to Washington 27 years ago because she knew the father couldn't afford to chase/stop her. And it really is wild. I want to, without getting too much in your business, I want to ask, how often does he even see your son?
So technically he gets court-ordered visitation a few times a year. We both have to send and retrieve. So the parent who's getting the child has to come and get the child, and the other parent. He doesn't actually see him all of that time. So he can see him several times a year. He doesn't always see him, but it's because anyway, I won't get too far into that. Let's just say dragging mama back and forth to court also has some unintended consequences of being really expensive on both ends of the spectrum. So, but he technically he gets him 3 times a year.
Okay. Well, my thought was like, if you're seeing him every weekend, like I understand not wanting to leave.
No.
But if it's once or twice a year, baby, we can meet in Mexico. We can, I can bring him. Like you said, the flights aren't that much further. Like the United States is large. If you go
it is very large.
You might as well cross an ocean or a border. Like it's not.
That's what I was thinking. Right.
It's once or twice a year.
That's what I'm thinking. I just have to get a judge to agree with that.
Together,
please.
Woo! We are sending you some good thoughts.
Yes.
Because like I am not a parent. I have never been divorced, but it seems like so much of post-divorce life, and I see Troy Prophet Mothers here, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And baby, we're gonna talk to her next week at the summit.
Oh, lovely! I can't wait.
Yeah. We're talking about her at the summit next week, but so much of it is just spite and not like the best interest of the child, right? Because absolutely. I can't imagine having a Black child in America and watching the news and not wanting to be like, okay, like if you think it's safer overseas and it's not limiting my vacation, my visitation at all, and my access to the at all, why I wouldn't want my child in the safest space. But
well, as you say, spite plays a significant role in many decisions that sometimes are made by exes. We have been divorced since 2016, and yet you would think it was just yesterday sometimes. So, yes.
Wishing you the best.
Thank you.
All the best. And Sarah, I wish you the worst if you watch this.
I have stories that I cannot tell because this is the family friendly channel, but I will just say, like I said, the being able to collapse time to see the future come closer to me is so much nicer. And it's and partly because some of the things that he has chosen to do in the past year that I'm just like, oh, you thought I was kidding. Okay. Okay.
I'll learn one way or the other.
Yeah, he's gonna learn. Yes.
All right. So
yes.
You have a 5-year plan.
I do.
And you're coming to Exodus Summit every year. We hear from people who say, I don't want to move this year, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't come. And you are a person who's been coming before you even
Had a plan.
knew that plan.
Yeah. I had no clue what was possible.
What have you gained from a summit that took you from 2001 to where you are in 2003?
Okay, so I knew you were going to ask me this question. So I hope I have remember all the things I was going to say.
So, okay.
I knew this was going to come up because I wanted to be able to articulate clearly this journey from the first to now. Number one, when I first found Stephanie's channel and I began to become a part of the community of Black women who do this thing called live abroad and travel, it was like a shiny penny on the ground that had not realized was there. And I got to pick it up and go, oh my gosh, what is this amazing thing? And so number one, it was I didn't need to have a plan. I found this group of people who were talking a language that I didn't speak. And I was like, I want to speak your language. So first was community. That was the first thing that keeps me coming back is this community of women who speak the language of ease, who speak the language of travel, who speak the language of embrace. I love Stephanie has the saying of them jobs ain't loyal. I loved that. And the boycott winter. And I was like, I'm totally team boycott winter. So I found this shiny penny on the ground called Exodus Summit when you all started this. And I was like, I don't know what this is going to be about. I don't even know if I have anything that I'm going to get from it, but I'm going to keep coming back. Number one, I got the community. I've met some amazing people over the course of the past almost 3 years now, some of which I still keep in touch with, one of which is my YouTube accountability buddy. Hi, Cicely. I know she's out there because we met through Exodus Summit last year. So the community was the first thing. And then the second thing was I didn't know what I didn't know. And this summit began to fill in these gaps in my understanding of the world. Like I turned 50 this year. So I've lived a lot. I've done some things, but I didn't know some things. And all of a sudden, women are talking about take what you know and do this. And every summit fed me another piece of things that I didn't know I didn't know. So I attended every talk that I could to figure out what don't I know about doing this thing called live abroad, called retire early, called career break. So the second thing is education. I'm an educator. I believe in education. I believe in the power of understanding what your options are. And this summit powerfully gives us that in these formats that allow us to not only learn, but to interact with each other, because interactive education is how I learn things. So this was fantastic for me. Third was the aftercare of the summit, the group itself that women are still talking about summits from 2 years ago and what we learned and what we did and how we connected. And that's so powerful in a time when we just don't have a lot of connections like that amongst people who talk the talk that you talk. So that's number three. And finally, I know I'm talking a lot. And finally, for me personally, it was this is going to sound a little strange, but it was the idea that I could guilt free think about moving on. Because I have a lot of extended family. There are a lot of those ties, a lot of the things that come along with being the daughter in a family and moms and dads and brothers and sisters. And sometimes there's a level of the tentacles of guilt can hold you
Mm-hmm.
down really badly, especially because I had, as my mother used to say, I had run away so many times to various parts of the country. And here was this community that was talking about it's not guilt, it's not running away, it's embracing your freedom, it's embracing you as opposed to just reacting to your life. You get to embrace your life and live it the way that you want to. I had done that within the confines of the 50 states. All of a sudden I could think about the whole world. And I had just never had that option. I felt like I just didn't have that option before.
Okay. Let me see if there are a question in the comments real quick.
Okay.
All right. They are sending you so much love.
Thank you.
Stephanie says the accountability buddies that formed during the summit, I think, help us make as much progress as the sessions do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your YouTube channel is Dr. Sacheen. Is that right? Right.
Yes, ma'am.
That now, in case you guys want to follow her. I know you do, because she's out here talking all this sense. all this sense. That's in the comments now.
Thank you.
Okay. You said earlier that you were a professor, and so you couldn't even imagine taking a career break because y'all die in your
Die in our
chairs, right?
chairs. Yep.
Now, what's funny is that when you said that, I kind of chuckled inside because some people think only professors take sabbaticals, right? Only professors take breaks
Yeah.
in their career. And you
Mm-hmm.
were on the end where people think, where if people think about sabbaticals, they think, oh, that's something that academics do, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other side being like, no, baby, I'm about to die here, right?
Right.
Like, let's
Correct.
die there doing the same thing day in, day out. Was a break, was it really that you would not have had access to a break in your role? Or would it have been hard? Or was it like no access at all?
I would have had access after a certain length of time.
Huh?
Academic sabbaticals are granted to do something. So you can take a sabbatical to do something. You can't just take a sabbatical because you're tired, because
Right.
you need a break, because you want to lay down on the couch and eat bonbons for the next 12 months. That's not allowed. But if you want to go write a book or do a major research project or go do a whatever, then you can apply for a sabbatical and hopefully your chair will squeeze out the time to give it to you. And but you're always working. The idea that a sabbatical is a restful period is a misnomer because it really isn't a restful. For academics, you're going to produce something at the end of that sabbatical. You have to justify getting a yes to the sabbatical.
What happens if you just didn't? You just showed back up. Like you took a year off and then you were like,
Right.
oh, I'm coming back to work. Like what's
Well, they won't give you another one. That's for darn sure. You'll never get another one again.
like could you go work at another institution or were you like
Yeah, you probably could work at another institution. You could do something else for a year, but they really want you to have something to show for.
I mean, if you take a break and don't do anything, and you lay on the
Oh,
couch and like
yes.
you're eating the bonbons and you're TV and watching your soap opera, you're watching Guiding Light or whatever is on, I don't know.
Yep.
And then a year later, you're like, you know what? I didn't do anything and I'm not showing back up to work. Okay, bye. Inquiring
So
minds want to know.
you could try to get another position someplace else, but
Mhm.
the road of academic hiring is not like most people's. You apply for a job, you send in your resume, they interview you, you get a job. It doesn't work that way for us. We apply for a job, we might get we might get a phone interview, then we have a teaching interview, then we have a panel interview. They fly you out, I mean, back and forth, depending on the job, and some of this is on your own dime. And then maybe you'll get a job offer after you've invested a lot of time, effort, and energy. You might get a job offer that may or may not pay you what you want. They could change the salary on you at the last minute. I have some horror stories you don't want to hear about. But the process of getting an academic job is it's not very easy, number one. And they're actually they're not laying on the ground everywhere, unless you want to live in West Virginia or something like that, in which case you could probably find a job tomorrow. But if I'm not knocking West Virginia, but for those of us who don't want to live in small towns for the rest of our lives, those kind of jobs are hard to come by. That's why I ended up in the middle of Washington in the desert, by the way.
All right.
Yes.
And so if you would continue to work as a professor,
Correct.
or well, you are still teaching now, right? But
Mm-hmm.
on the path you were on, there was no break in sight.
There was no break in sight, for two reasons. Number one, because doing research under the gun like that is just very difficult for me. I like to take my time with life. I don't want to be rushed through things. Academics doesn't work like that. So the publish or perish doctrine is very real in academics. You have to produce. So that was the first thing. And secondly, the pay. People are under the really strange impression that college professors are rolling in the dough, and we are not. We have to work year round because we get paid on a 9-month schedule, and then we do not get paid if we are not working. So then you have to work in the summers as well, which is why so many professors spend their summers adjuncting, writing books and things of that nature because they need to get paid.
Okay. All right.
So,
So no break. You would have had no space
no,
for a break.
mm-mm, no.
Um,
Maybe
but
not until
now,
after tenure.
okay. Now you
Yeah.
see a life where you could actually take a break. I'm gonna stop for a second because I talked to Dr. Catherine Sophia Bell on this channel uh,
Hmm.
about a month or two ago, and she's in my program from Burnout to Bliss, so I know her very well. I know her. I know her well enough. Every time she'd show up and she'd be like, "I'm taking a break," and she'd explain her break, and I'd be like, "Baby, that's work.
That's work.
You're going to Berlin because you want to be in these archives and
Yep.
you want to go and do research every day, baby, that's work." She'd be like, "No, it'll be fun," and I'm like, "But baby, that's if what you do for fun and what you do for work are the same thing."
Yes.
I
Now you know why I said
understand
we die in our chairs.
that. Listen, she was like, "No, it'll be different. It'll be fun," and I'm like, "It's like you're going to do research that you will use in a future work product. That's work."
Correct.
Like even the idea that like post tenure, she was able to take a break. And that break, as she planned it out, she kept falling back into work. And I'd have to be like, "That sounds like work." And my next plan, I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Baby, you don't see that work. Like that work is right there." Like, okay. And would keep going through new iterations. And it was always like, and there's that work right there. Right. If you don't like, because you don't even, I don't think she's a very intelligent woman. I'm not saying she couldn't see what was going on in her own life, but like I don't think she noted. Like she's so like it was so
It's
wrapped.
the
She is.
it's the spiral. It's the loop you get caught in. If I
Yes.
may, when you go to so you we are indoctrinated from the minute we hit the door for our PhD. All you're going to do your whole life from here on out is to be a professor. And to be that professor, you're going to need to research and publish. Research and publish. You're going to go to conferences because you need to make connections so that you can research and publish. You can do all
Mhm.
kinds of things, but you need to research and going on vacation, turn that into a research project. Going to get pregnant, let's talk about breastfeeding and the research project. I mean, every aspect of your life becomes this idea of how can I use this to help further my research and publishing. So I'm not surprised. I was her. Everything was about,
Mhm.
okay, I had a baby. Let's talk about what it means. I did a whole research project on breastfeeding before I had kids because people around me were pregnant when I was in grad school. And we're like, oh, let's do this research topic. So when I got my child and I had a baby, I was like, oh, maybe I should do a research project. And I was like, no,
What
no.
right. Joanna is here in the comments now, and Joanna is a doctor who is going to talk to us next week in the summit about creating a work schedule that
Mm,
allows for breaks, right? And
I
how
like
to
that.
work that out. Because for a lot of us, there are ways to create a life in which you can take a break.
Hmm.
But because we're so indoctrinated, as you said earlier, we're so indoctrinated in wherever we come from, whatever has educated us, the American way of doing things,
Correct.
capitalism, that it's hard to imagine outside of our boxes. And so we don't always see the ways that we can work a break into our lives. Um, Danielle says she's taking a 2-month break next summer, 1 month of travel and 1 month of rest at home, right? Like, and Danielle works in HR. That is not a traditional thing. People think I can take 2 months off. I know, but if on my old corporate job, if I told my boss I was taking 3 weeks off, she would be like, "But no,
Mm-mm.
but
Mm-mm.
but no," because I was
No.
what? Indispensable, right? And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was indispensable, and that meant that my vacations were closely monitored because who's gonna do this work when
Oh,
you're not? Because nobody else knows how to do it. Because nobody else
correct.
knows how to do it. So what do you mean? You're going
Hmm.
3. I could get away with 2 weeks. That was it. After that, it was like, come on back, come on back.
Hmm.
Break. But we're going to talk about strategies for that with Joanna next week. I'm very excited about that. I saw earlier Shauna took a 6-month sabbatical in 2021. Now she can barely
Mm.
muster enough energy and positivity to stay on a job long term. Once you get that call of the wild and you answer, once you answer that call of the wild, it's hard to go back.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yes, ma'am.
You want me to show up every day? You.
Not only show up, you want me to be coherent and nice to people and do some work. Oh.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, thank you. Mm-mm. No, thank you.
And the bureaucracy that goes along with that. Oof.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Okay. You've been to. Okay, Mara. Let's talk with Mara. Asked if we'll be able to buy 2023 replays even after this year's summit. Yes, but the price of the summit ticket goes up on Friday. This Friday coming up. Friday the 6th, the start of the summit. The first day of the summit, the ticket price goes up, and the replay price is going to stay up. They're not going to drop down. So the lower price is available now. It won't be available after Friday. All right. Now you have attended 3 summits in the. Well, this will be your 3rd summit.
Yeah.
You attended 2 in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You were a recipient of a gifted ticket for both summits. I don't know how. Listen, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how. If I had been keeping track, it wouldn't have happened.
But Rashida, you gave them to me.
I know, but I didn't know. I keep track of a lot of names, but I didn't keep. We don't. Okay, so when we, for those of you that don't know, our community gifts money to Exodus Summit, and we use that money to buy tickets for community members who would not be able to afford to pay for a ticket otherwise. Stephanie, can you drop the links? You can drop money at Cash App at ExodusSummit.com and or $Exodus Summit. No, what am I saying? Cash App is $Exodus Summit, and PayPal is Exodus Summit. We're at Exodus Summit at both places. Stephanie's gonna drop a link if she's still here. I looked for it and I couldn't find it. I don't want to write the wrong thing. But it's Exodus Summit at both places. Any hoodle. Yeah, no. Each year, people in our community, you don't have to be in our community. People outside of our community, men. Hi, Reggie. I don't know you, but if you're here, donate some cash. You see the link. Stephanie just dropped it.
I think
people outside of our community and inside of our community donate to help women get tickets. Okay? Oh, you lost me for a minute.
I did for a second. Yeah.
They donate money so that women who would not be able to afford otherwise can get tickets. We don't want your bank statement. We don't want a long story. Just tell us otherwise. The only way I can attend is if that's true, the only way you can attend is if you're gifted a ticket. If we have enough money, which we don't right now, we will give to everyone. Am I being too subtle? We will give to everyone who asks if we can get enough money. We do not have enough money at this current moment. There are people who've asked for tickets who can't get tickets. And that's why I'm like 2 years. I know both years we didn't have enough money for everybody. So someone got told no each year. And you got a ticket each of those years?
I did. And they got 2.
Okay. I'm curious.
Listen. The universe spun. Yes. The universe spun on that dime. Okay. I told you shiny penny, right? I found this shiny penny and I'm rubbing that penny until the cows come home. I wanted to make sure that I was like, okay, it was I don't know if it was last year or the year before that we did the numbers. You had to pick the number from between, and then I don't know which year that was that we had to pick the numbers and you were drawing a number and did
I do that online?
Yes.
I think I did that online. Yes, that was one way. That was a ticket from, if you got it here, that wasn't a ticket from the community, that was a ticket from me. If that's how you got it. Okay. That was a ticket from me. No.
I didn't actually. And then you said, okay, now send an email if you think you can. And I sent my email and you said, okay, you have a ticket. I was like, cool, okay, yep, all right, we're going again. So I was very blessed and fortunate to write 2 lines to say, this is what's going on. This is why I can't buy a ticket at this point in time. Please and thank you. And you said yes twice to me. And again, you're right. Out of a community of hundreds of women, who I'm sure that you got hundreds of emails, and I'm fairly certain you got hundreds of emails. I don't know how you saw mine twice. I really don't, but you did. And so I've been really blessed and fortunate to be able to attend. And I've never taken that for granted, because something Stephanie Perry said has rung true. And she said, and I forget which year this was, but she said, we give you free things, and they don't show up. They don't show up and they don't participate. And I was like, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to have you remember my name because I didn't show up, because you gave me a ticket and I didn't use it. I'm not going to be that person. So if you give me this ticket, I'm going to use the ticket. She always says it, right? She's always like, people don't show up. You give them stuff and they take it, and then they don't use it. And I was like, you're not going to remember my name because I didn't use my ticket. No.
And truly, we do not track who we, because
I didn't think you did.
The only thing is needs-based. We don't track who we give it to, and we don't track if you attend. But what we want to be very clear is that these tickets are coming from members of the community. Someone has donated money for the ticket holders to attend. So if you get the ticket and you don't use the ticket, you wasted somebody else's money, right? And that's not a position I want to be in. And I hope that the people who get the tickets have enough integrity that that's not a position they want to be in either. I love that you did, Sacheen, that you weren't going to put that to waste. And so this year you said, I'm good.
I said, I'm good. I'm not going to ask for a ticket. I'm going to buy my own ticket because I can.
That's lovely. And you have collapsed your 10-year plan. Somebody's helped you go from a 10-year plan to a 5-year plan.
Yes, moving helped that a great deal.
Okay. All right. If you want to ask for a ticket and you are a Black woman, because this summit is only for Black women, you can email us at scholarships@exodussummit.com. I'm telling you right now, we do not have any money. So if my phone don't beep beep, if you don't hear a little beep beep, we have not gotten more money. My phone doesn't beep ever. I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that part. My phone does not make noise. Whatever my phone makes noise.
Your phone's on silent.
Why would you do that? How dare you betray me like this? You. So scholarships@exodussummit.com if you want to receive a donated ticket, but I'm telling you in advance, the money ain't there. So the ticket's not there either. I'm so sorry. We've already given away a number. I don't know how many. Amina's in charge of that this year. But we'd love it if you could donate, and women like Sacheen can get the benefit and create a plan for their future.
Can I just say,
yes,
as the recipient of two of those tickets, it has been life-changing to be a part of this thing as a Black woman. And so it is literally, I never would have thought that this existed in the world, and to watch the growth of Exodus Summit and to have been a part of that, to see that grow from the inside and from the outside, it is absolutely, like, I talk about this all the time. I'll tell my friends, oh, I'm going to this summit this weekend and all this kind of stuff. Oh, can I come? You can't come. You're not a Black woman. But I'm telling you that it's out here and it's amazing and it's beautiful, and I'm so excited about it. So if you get a ticket, come. You will leave full. You'll leave full.
Watch the videos. Okay, so we're very excited about this. What is something you didn't know or believe? What is something you didn't believe before Exodus Summit that you believe now?
All the ways that one can make money with what one can do. I didn't have any concept of all of the ways. I thought really small. And I think it happens to us, right? We get indoctrinated into one way of thinking about the world. And then all of a sudden, I get on Exodus Summit and Libria Jones is talking about, well, you got a job, but you got to do it from no place but your home. Why are you leaving your house every day, woman? And then I forget the woman who talked about creating the courses. And I'm like, I'm an educator. Of course I could create courses. Why didn't I think of that? Writing a book, doing photos of a certain persuasion. Like all of these things all of a sudden came up that I had just never thought about. Never thought about. Yeah.
Now, Sacheen is specifically talking about Exodus Summit 2022. Our theme was Move Abroad Money, in which
Yes.
we had a whole bunch of women. I don't remember how many, child. A lot of women, almost 20, I think, come in and talk about different ways to make money. If you buy a ticket to Exodus Summit this year, you can bundle it with a ticket with the replays from Exodus Summit 2022. So not only will you get all the education and information from this year, but you can also at a significant discount get the other tickets. Depending on which ticket you buy, the replays from last year are either 50% off or 66% off. That is also going to go away at the end of the summit. So if you already have your summit, your summit, your 2023 summit ticket, you can still buy the replays from 2022 if you haven't seen them, because they are going to be good. I'm getting a headache because this is too tight. Hold on. All right, Sacheen, talk while I
okay.
You're in charge.
And then, so remind me of the theme from 2021, please.
2021 was our homecoming, where we had people who attended in 2020 and changed their life after our first summit. They came back and talked to you about what they learned and how they did the things they did.
Yes. So as I was explaining to Rashida, I had all my notes and everything for this last summit, but from the one previous, my computer died at some point. So I have none of that stuff left over. But I do know that if you could just hear the stories, like that was so inspiring to hear the stories of women who were in their 40s, because I was in my 40s when I first started coming to the summit. I just hit 50 this year. You just had someone on who is in their 60s. I forget which channel it was on, but just that from all of us get represented. All of us are here. And that's been so empowering. Like none of us are getting left behind. None of us are going to get left behind. There is something for all of us, whatever stage we are at. And that is powerful to come out of one summit. Wow. Like, how is it we're all going to get representation in one summit? But we are, like, you are systematically and deliberately making sure that whatever decade your book chapter is on, we have something for you.
A friend of mine was talking online about how she sees so many summits or conferences that aren't about anything. They're just like nothingness. And I was like, that would be so embarrassing. And I was writing a comment. I was like, what is she talking about me? And I was like, she can't be talking about me, right? So I wrote the comment. And she was like, I have no interest in doing what you're doing, but like, I want to attend the summit because of the speakers and how powerful they are and how they're all bringing something to the table. And I'm like, yes, she wasn't talking about me. Okay.
Not talking about you. Not talking about you.
We see so many things. And I think this is what I believe, that strangers who don't know our community are a little hesitant about this because they're like, they can't really be doing that, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, we are. Like you may be used to people doing these summits or conferences online and you end up with nothing, like a notebook full of nothing, right?
Yes.
But we are bringing in speakers, powerful speakers who are going to speak about their education. Some of them come from our community, and they know us because they've attended a summit, right? So they know. Other ones, we went out, thing Stephanie and I do every year. We sit down and we're like, who do we want to hear from, right? And then there's another level of like, okay, what do our women need to know, right? What is the thing that might change their life? So I'm gonna go to exodussummit.com/schedule right now and tell you the speakers that we were like, this is the thing this is what we think they need to know. Oh, I know one off the bat. Stephanie was like, we need to talk to women about the things that they are. That is not the right link. Don't ignore me if I just said that. It's exodussummit.com. When you clickety-clack on, just go to schedule. Or it's not on my computer. I don't know what kind of cookies I got going on. Stephanie was like, women need to know what they are worrying too much about when they're moving abroad and what they're not worried enough about. And so there's a session, right? So we have Marissa and Angela who've been in the community for a while, who have taken long sabbaticals or have moved abroad to talk about those things, whatever things they worry too much about, whatever things they didn't worry enough about. And so they can pass that knowledge on to the community, because that's one of the things I love most about this community is we're not gatekeeping information, right? The women in our community do not gatekeep information. It is all of us sharing with each other, and that's how we get ahead. Let me go back to my schedule real quick. Oh my God, Octavia Rahim and this rest practice. Bring a pillow. I'm gonna tell you in advance, bring some tissues. I don't know for sure, but I know in my heart, Octavia's gonna make somebody cry. She's gonna get one of y'all, she's gonna poke you in your feelings real quick. Not even on purpose. She's just such a beautiful soul. She's such a beautiful soul that like she's gonna say something that's gonna make you cry. Oh, I saw Eve, Miss Disabled Diva, on our Disabled Diva Travels on YouTube. She is here and she's going to be on a panel talking about healthcare abroad, a reason to move, not a reason to stay.
Can I make a point to that?
Yes. Go.
You asked me before what are one of the reasons why I want to take my son abroad. Healthcare is a huge one. I am definitely picking a location based on healthcare. Okay. Healthcare access and healthcare. And it's because of this summit that I even thought about the possibility that you could move and have better healthcare, because we don't know that. America's not telling you that the healthcare system is, that we're hearing America's healthcare is the best in the world, that other countries are third world and you're going to have, standardized medicine is blah, 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 blah. Child, this summit was like, let me talk to you. Every time y'all have somebody on your channel, they always talk about the healthcare. Always. And I'm always like, let me take some notes. Let me get down here and take some notes.
It's true. And I know we focus on it. Even outside of the summit, we focus on it because we have been indoctrinated to believe that if you leave America, you're going to have like sores all over your body and you're going to be like, dying on the ground with no healthcare, because America has created a system where your healthcare is so tied to your job that the idea of going abroad and maybe not having a job is like, well, what would I do for healthcare? What would I do for healthcare? And it's like there's so many better systems, but we're in our box and it's hard. I would say that for healthcare is one of the ways that we are in our box and we can't see to outside of the box, because America has shored up those walls to be so thick and so high that you can't see any other options. You can't see that you can just walk into a doctor's office. I swear to you, every time I live in Mexico, for y'all that don't know, I live in Mexico City. When I go to a doctor's office, I do not wait. I walk in and every time there's no one ahead of me, because my doctor is seeing one person at a time. My doctor schedules, this is how long it takes to do this thing. There's no overlapping. There's no one in the waiting room when I get there. I went to my doctor the other day and I needed to reschedule something. So I was working with the front desk staff and it was taking longer. And I thought, her nurse came out like, girl, like, come on back, right? And the idea that like I'm slowing down I showed up early, right, to do this, but it was still taking a little longer. I'm slowing down the doctor's office because they were ready for me at the time they said. It wasn't like show up, we tell you your time is 2, but your appointment's really at 2:30. Just that small thing of like respecting your time as a human and not placing the doctor's time so far above yours that you don't get time to ask the questions. You're in or you're out, and you gotta wait 3 hours for 10 minutes with the doctor. That doesn't for me, that does not happen here. I'm not saying it's not happening anywhere in the country. I'm saying if I'm bougie about nothing else, I'm bougie about healthcare. And the healthcare providers I have selected for myself, I do not wait, not at the dentist, not at the doctor, nowhere.
Correct.
Nowhere.
I'm
I
with
show
you.
up and they're like, come on back. Already? Yes. I don't even sit down. Oh, okay. You're ready for me. And that's just a new experience, and one that we live in a society that has trained us that's not available to us. And there's a lot of things that we've been trained to believe are not accessible to us, and they are. I always want women to think about what's most important to them. Like, what is the thing that is most, what is about your life today? What is the thing you would like to change the most? There's a place out there that you can change that. You just got to find that place, right? And so, as part of the summit, We're going to talk to Krishan from Lux Global, who just went to a dentist in Portugal. Her and her team's full attention at the dentist. Krishan's going to talk to us about looking for countries and how to make sure the country you choose is the right country. Because Krishan went through she dated some countries and they were not right. I don't even know if she's married to Portugal now, right? I know she's there. She's got residency. She lives there. But I don't know if it's just, they go steady or if she's married. But she dated some countries and said, no, not for me, right? And it's important to have an idea of what you're looking for, right? And sometimes we don't know what we're looking for because we don't know there are options. We can't imagine. I literally could not imagine not waiting. When I got there and I was like, there's nobody else. I walked into my eye doctor's office once and it felt a little creepy because like the waiting room was kind of dark and there was no one else around. And then I realized, oh, it's just me. That's why. There's no one else around because no one's waiting. Okay. All right. Great. And it's just, in that moment, I was like, why is there nobody else here? Oh, because there's only one doctor. And so if there was more than one of us, we'd all be waiting for the same doctor, right? And that's just not a thing here. And it is, that's not the reason I live here, right? It's a bonus, but it's not the reason I live here. But there are things I wanted to change about my life that were not accessible to me in the US that are accessible to me in Mexico. Hey.
Hi.
Go out.
Yeah. I lost you for like 2 seconds. You're fine.
I hate her.
But no, to your point, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, because of my exposure now for the past few years to the summit and all of you amazing women and the women in the community, I look at the news so differently. There was a news story 2 days ago about a town in Mexico that is nothing but dentists. There are like so many dentists in this one town that it begins with an A, and I'm not going to get the name right, so I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it. But the dentists they were talking about, and I think I saw it on TikTok, we're talking about they studied in the US and then they came back home and they are like, you can walk into any dentist and get a cleaning. You can walk into any dentist and get a filling. You can get a root canal for $300 for a root canal. And I think, because my child has had dental issues in his little life for a long time, orthodontic work in the United States is going to cost me a house by the time he's 18. It's going to literally cost me a house because I cannot tell you the amount of money I have spent.
That's wild.
It is. Yes, they're already talking about we're going to put braces on. It's going to be $3,000 for this and $4,000 for that. And I'm just like, oh, I need a second, third, fourth job just for dental work, just for the possibility of making sure that you grow up with straight teeth and no problems. It's literally going to be a mortgage payment.
That's crazy.
It is. It's painful.
But it's hard to imagine that life elsewhere could be different.
Exactly. And I would not have paid attention. I would have been the typical American. In some ways, I'm atypical, but in some ways, I'm very typical. And that I would have seen a news story about dentists in Mexico in a town and been like, yeah, but why would I go to Mexico for dental work when I could just go here and pay exorbitant prices? But I'm assured of the system, blah, 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 right? My eyes would not have been like, oh, yeah, because now I know people And I am a part of a community of people who have done it. And I actually know people who've gone to other countries for medical tourism as much as for as much as little. Is that something that you support or doesn't support? People do travel for medicine. I would not have considered that possibility as some reason to move. And now I'm just like, two mortgage payments or another country.
I hear from people all the time who do medical tourism, who maybe not move abroad, but like they need something specific done and they will go on vacation and get it done and spend
Yes.
weeks or months in another country and spend less
Yes.
than they would have for the medical care in the US,
Yes.
for the same medical care, for better, for more attentive aftercare, right? To have a nurse on like at hand to take care of them, to stop by and check on them every day, which you're not getting in America unless you're paying
No.
a lot.
A
Um,
lot.
and so it's one of the things I love about Summit is that I think it opens all our eyes to the possibilities that are out there that we may not even think about. Every year someone comes and I'm like, let me take a note, baby, because I don't even know. Like I've lived abroad for years, but there are things I still don't even think about because the indoctrination is deep, right? Like there's a lot of it. So I'm very excited for you, for your son, for your 5-year plan. What does your son think about moving abroad?
He's on the fence. On the one
Okay.
hand, he thinks it would be very cool to live elsewhere. On the other hand, kids like their stability. They like the same thing over and over again. That's why they eat chicken nuggets every day because they like
Right.
the same thing over and over and over again. So until they get used to the different thing, they're fine with what they have. But he has also begun to realize that, okay, so maybe if we did travel more, which is why part of the long term plan is to go and spend time in these places to see what feels good and right for us, then I think he'll feel a little more secure. And as he gets older, he's starting to feel more secure and stable in his own little world. So, um, yeah, he'll be fine. We'll work it out. We'll work
All
it out.
right. Um,
Oh dear. Okay, I'm ready.
are you?
I am.
What describe your dream life abroad?
Oh, I got this.
Okay.
I got this because this is in my dream journal. I dream about life abroad. When you
Okay.
said I could retire in another country, I was like, okay, then let's start with the fact that I don't get up until I get ready on any given day. Someone takes care of the basic necessities of my life. I outsource those things which I hate doing. Someone cooks, cleans, all that kind of jazz. But most importantly, when I open my door and I walk outside, I can either see the mountains or hear the ocean or hear the vibrancy of the life of the people in the community. We're very isolated in America. We don't hear the vibrancy. We hear a lot of noise, I feel like, but we don't hear the vibrancy of a place very often. And I see myself sitting in coffee shops, working on my novel. Yes, one day I get the novel finished, working on my book, enjoying the vibrancy of the people, enjoying the ease of the place. I also very practically, want a big house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and space to roam around in because I'm used to living in apartments and small spaces, and I want that feeling of expansion. I also want to be able to go outside and pick fruit off my fruit trees.
Okay.
I know it's a very specific thing, but one of the things I love about Greece is I can go outside and pick something off the fruit tree. And one of the things I love about living in Puerto Rico is that I could go outside and pick fruit off the fruit tree. And so that's
Okay.
a that's a memory.
You're not gonna love um what I want to say. It doesn't matter because
Uh-oh.
you have many options. But the life you described is the life my mom
Hmm.
lives in Merida.
So you're telling me the heat is what gives me the fruit from the fruit trees.
Listen, the life she lives in Merida. She moved there because like she loves Mexico City, but she was like, but I gotta plant stuff. Like she doesn't feel at home until
Right.
there's a tree. Listen, she's got a tree and she loves this tree. It's a big palm tree. I saw some movement. I said, what's going on in that tree? She says, oh, it has birds, bees, and bats. And I was like, but then cut it down. And she was like, no, those are the homies. And I was like, birds, bees, and bats in one tree. It got to go. And she was like, what are you talking about?
Hey, Mom, I'm with you. Keep the tree. Keep the tree.
And then she has plants and she's planting things and they're growing and this and that. And I'm like, birds, bees, and bats now? Like, there's a lot of outside. I don't listen. And that's the joy in choosing where you go, right? Like if you look at it as like look at an atlas and think of it as, or a globe, and think of it as like it's a buffet. Like, what do you feel like eating today? What do you feel like eating for next month, for next year, for 5 years? But you don't have to pick a place for the rest of your life, right?
No, no, I haven't lived any place for longer than 6 years in quite a while. So um, I don't I don't mind the concept of moving around. I think as I want to write more and be more in one space to absorb the energy of things, staying one place feels a little more doable now. But like I'm with your mom. My son is totally like, Mom, can we live in the city? I want the city. He's like, he's a city kid. He's like, listen, I appreciate the fact that we live in the suburbs and all, because everything's really convenient. But when I take him down into the city, he lights up. He wants he wants that city feeling, that city vibe. I'm like, you're a 10. What do you know about the city? Anyway, but it's like he's like, mm-mm. We can live in an apartment in the city all day long. We never have to buy a house. As long as I can open the windows and hear the city, I'm like, whose child are you? Where did you come from?
But send them to me. Send them to me. I didn't realize I was a city girl until I came to the city, and I was like, oh, this is the city of all cities, and I love it. I feel like a lot of cities are like, they're half cities, half suburbs, right?
Right. Yes. Which is where we live now. Yes.
You have suburbs, so you don't. Until I was on a city, it was in a city that like the suburbs were hours away, right? Like I came back, the suburbs are far. The city itself is so huge and so dense that it was here, but I was like, oh no, this is really what I like. When I go to other places now that are less city, which is like everywhere else in the world,
yeah,
it's all right, but like, when do I get to go home? Because it's all right, it's okay.
I love the city too, but maybe I need to be in a different city. I've lived in New York for the past. I just moved back to the Midwest this summer, like 3 months ago. I haven't been here very long. But we lived on Long Island, which is a series of suburbs, all bumping up against each other. Nothing but suburbs as far as the eye can see, and then the Hamptons. That's what it is. Suburb, 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 Hamptons. So we didn't get into the city very often. And when we did get into the city, I don't know, y'all, I was just overwhelmed with cityness of New York. I think it's because New York is a really small city when you get down to it. It's compact into a very small area. So it felt very overwhelming. Is Mexico City similar? Is it very compacted? I don't know much about Mexico City.
It's very large, but very compact, very dense, very compact. Large and dense. Okay. You can literally drive from one side, depending on, it's one of those traffic cities. The traffic is significantly worse than New York City. Significantly, multiple times worse than New York City. Yeah. So I am on the west side of the city, but not as far west as it goes. The airport's on the east side of the city, but not as far east as it goes. And in the middle of the night, that drive might be 30 minutes. The drive has also been 2 hours for me. And that's before you get to the burbs.
So got it. Okay. That's a city.
It's a city. It's the city I've ever seen. And I've been to Tokyo. I've been to New York, LA. This is
LA, yeah. Worse than LA, because I've been to LA too.
It's more city.
Oh wow. Oh wow, that's a city. Because LA is a city.
But like it's the kind of city, what I love about it. This is not a Mexico City ad. I'm just gonna say, like, it's important to know what you like. The thing I really like about it is that because it was created for people who do not have cars, and because that
Oh
is
yes.
prioritized, it's a very
Hmm.
walkable city. So
Okay.
there are neighborhoods like in LA, like when I'm in LA, I feel like I always got to go across town to do the thing I want to do.
Yes.
The thing I want to do is in my
Yes.
neighborhood. The thing I want, and here, the thing I want to do is walkable because it's a
Okay.
lot of people. You can't have cars on the street for all the people. Like in some cities, everybody has one car, and by the time the kid turns 16, they need a car too because mom can't take them to all the places
Yes.
and do all the things.
Yep.
That's not the city, right? It just can't. You could not have cars for all the people because it's too many people in the city. So
Okay.
the neighborhoods are I have 2 grocery stores within 2 blocks of me, right? I've got
Right.
all the
Okay.
things. There are local markets within 3 blocks of me. Like all the things are here. There's
Okay.
I think 2 or 3 gyms within at least within 4 blocks of me. There are two or
Wow.
three. It's like
Okay.
it's a very walkable, and it's like every neighborhood has their own,
Interesting.
like it's one of those things. And so for someone, I talked to Shauna yesterday who wants to live in a place where she isn't reliant on having a car. And
Mm-hmm.
she knows she's living in Mexico City already, although she's never been there, but she's ignoring it. So I didn't say it to her. She's watching now, so I'm saying it to you now, baby. Um, like if you know a walkable city, go ahead and find yourself a walkable city, right? If you know
Yeah.
that you want to drive. I like the feeling of driving. I
Mm-hmm.
driving here because they'd be wild in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
Adelia says it's the size of Houston with 5 times the people. So
Oh gosh, and I've been to Houston. Wow, that's a lot of
yeah,
people. That's a lot of people.
we're all up on each other a little bit, but it is very much a city that the people people love it or hate it, and that
Mm.
is what I want for all of you watching this. I want you to find the city that you love, even if other people hate it. And that's why I'm always like, you need to do your research and figure out what you're looking for, as opposed to just following other people. Because other people they're not living your life. They're not going to live your life, right? Like if I have to go to work in person here, I would hate it. I would hate
Mm.
it
Yes.
because I got to be in if I had to be in rush hour, I try to get on the train one time. The train is normally fine because I'm outside when other people aren't, on purpose. I plan my schedule like, well, I can wait a few hours to do that. That's fine. I don't need to be outside right now. I came on the train once. I don't know what was going on, but I was in throngs of thousands of people
Oof.
trying, like at one station, trying to get on, thousands. And I was
Oof.
like, I'm not built for this like 5 p.m. train thing. Like, I'm so sorry. Let me go
No.
sit in the cafe somewhere and wait. Um, but that's city life, right? That's city life. You need to find what you like. Someone else is going to hear that probably in the comments and be like, thousands of people? No, thank you. And
But I like the idea of stuff though. I need comfort. I'm a creature comfort person. I like not having to go. I don't want to have to drive 3 hours to get to whatever it is I need to get to. So
Mhm.
thousands of people feel a little overwhelming. But when you say things like, but everything that you need in your neighborhood is in your neighborhood because of the layout of the city,
Mhm.
that's appealing. That
Mhm.
part's very appealing. But the thousands of people, that's not appealing.
Um, if I'm leaving my neighborhood, I'm usually going to meet a friend somewhere, or I'm going to something that I could do in my neighborhood, but I'm choosing
Hmm.
to do somewhere else. Right?
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Like it's not a city where you need to always be in a car or doing something. It's very much like the thing you need is here, or it's close enough that like,
Hmm.
and because this is a city that understands who lives here. I think a lot of cities are like, we just gonna pretend, right? Like we just gonna pretend that everybody owns a car. We just gonna pretend that everybody's rich. We gonna ignore
Yes.
the people, right? Who don't have
Yes.
access to certain things. This is not a
Hmm.
city that does that. Does it a little bit, but not completely, right? Um, the public transportation is great. There's always a bus. There is always a bus. Adele lives on the best bus line.
Mm.
Wherever Adele. I don't live. I live a little outside of like the best bus lines.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever Nelly is going, there is a bus line to get her where she wants to go. North,
Nice.
south, east, west, diagonal, whatever. And my bus, they raised the price of the bus line that I typically take. They've
Mm-hmm.
raised the price this year, sometime maybe a few months ago, from 10 cents to 20 cents. I don't like that it doubled, but like it's 20 cents, right?
Right.
It's not no money, but I can
Right.
get miles away from home for 20 cents.
20 cents. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Like I like this city living. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
everybody, but
Right.
something out there, whatever it is you want, whatever it is you want, it is out there somewhere for you. But you have to know what you want first, and sometimes we don't. It's hard to imagine what we want. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the things I love are the arts. I like going to museums. I like going to the opera. I like going to the theater. And so it's important to me to have access to those things, especially as I build a life that frees up my time so that I have more freedom to do the things that bring me joy. And so, you know, Japan has an amazing arts scene. I'm investigating the arts of, you know, the Silver Coast in Portugal. Mexico has an amazing art scene. Like I follow ballet companies because I like that kind of stuff. It's really important to me to be able to. I can't go all the time, but when I can get a ticket, man, I want to be able to go sit and watch someone else do things with their body that I just couldn't even dream of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important piece to my 5-year plan. That wherever we end up is, can I go to the opera? Can I go to do they have outdoor festivals? Do they have those kinds of things that make me feel like I'm part of the city and not just stuck in my apartment because there's nothing for me to do?
Right. What do you hope to get from this year's summit?
Oh, well, I was so excited to when it came out. I'm on how do I put this? I'm on that beginning journey again. I feel like I've reset from the first time I attended the summit. So I'm coming at it like a newbie all over again, with a set of fresh eyes. And excuse me, I'm so sorry. And so I'm expecting to get tools for the next step of my journey. It's really important because I have collapsed a little bit of time down. I need some defined tools now for how to take the next steps in the journey of our exodus. So I feel like that's what that's what I'm looking to get out of this next summit.
Now, what do you think are the tools? Like, can you identify a gap between where you are and where you want to be?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if I can speak for all single moms out there, but it can be very difficult to remember sometimes that you can make the big plan. You can make the big plan, period. You can actually make the big plan and execute the big plan. And there may be, at least for me, sometimes there's a divide. I can make the big plan, but the execution of that plan takes a mindset that I haven't quite accomplished yet because I'm still so focused on doing things a certain way, It's got to be A's got to follow, B's got to follow A, C's got to follow B, D's got to follow C. It has to be done. So for me, I'm working on this year, set aside my 50th year on the planet. I've set it aside as the year to get my mind right. It's been my year to get my mind right. And so this year's summit, there are, when you, no offense to any other speaker, but when you announced Tabitha Brown, I think I sat down and cried for like a while because I was like, okay, I don't know what this is going to mean for my life, but I know this moment is going to change my life. I already know it. All of these speakers are going to change my life. That was just the cherry on top.
Okay. So yes, we didn't say it today. We've kind of stopped
I'm
saying
sorry.
it.
Was I not supposed to? Okay.
No. Tabitha is still coming, as far as I know. We when we announced our keynote speakers, we were really excited about that. But we have kind of pulled back a little bit from talking about it because we don't want people to show up at the summit because Tabitha Brown is speaking. And I know that's not what you're doing.
Oh no, I already had my ticket. So.
we love so much that so many of you bought your tickets before you knew any of the speakers. So many women were like, I don't care who's coming. I don't care who's speaking, I'm coming. And I appreciate that. We want women to come and take action. And I think our keynote speakers are going to inspire. So Tabitha Brown, Dr. Joy from Therapy for Black Girls, Rachel Cargill, they're going to inspire you into action. But the other sessions are going to be the ones that are going to give you the roadmaps. They might put, like our Tabitha might put a little more gas in your tank to go take action. But the map that you need is in the other sessions, right? Stephanie just commented that Coach Tish is coming to teach how to execute on things we've been procrastinating on or feeling imposter syndrome about. Because maybe every day is something. My to-do list every day is a joke because I'm like, yeah, I need to do that. But I'm procrastinating. I procrastinate by doing other things.
Same.
It's the week before. Why am I buying organizers to organize my shoes? Why am I redoing my closet? It's the week before the summit. Maybe I got stuff to do. But I'm procrastinating because my brain can't handle all of the pressure. And so let's listen to Coach Tish about how to coach ourselves through these moments where it's like, you know what you're supposed to be doing. Quit playing games, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we get the big picture sometimes, but we don't know how to go from the big picture to the first step. So because I've had the big picture for so long, and here's the thing, Rashida, I know how to take steps in a certain way, but when you're asking your body, your life to think outside the box, you may not know how to take those steps because you've never had to do those steps before. You know how to take, you want me to go back to school and get a degree? I got you. I got 3 of them. I can do this.
We don't want that.
No. But I know how to do that. I don't necessarily know how to take steps. It sounds weird, but on my own 2 feet, where there's nothing underneath me. Education catches you into a net. Most professions put a net under you, right? But when you're saying, I'm just going to take this leap of faith and hope that there's a net to catch me, we don't all know how to take those steps.
So, like, I'm going to put this out there. You can take it or leave it. Is it a net or is it a net sometimes and a web some other times?
Oh, sweetheart, it's golden handcuffs all the time.
You're getting caught in something, right? Like,
you're getting caught in something. Yes, ma'am.
Something. But it may not always be what you want, right? It may feel safe, but safety isn't always what we need, right?
I would say,
comfort
go ahead.
We need.
Yes. Before the last summit, I was thinking about, because this is what Black women do, right? I was going to go back to school because I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but I knew I didn't want to keep doing this. Like, being a professor was a dream that I achieved, and the reality and the dream are just not the same thing. So great, wonderful. But again, I know how to study. I know how to execute someone else's plan. I am not always that good at executing my own plans. So right before Exodus in 2022, I was like, maybe I'll go back and get maybe I'll go and start get this degree, and then I'll start this business. And then I said an Exodus, and I was like, child, what are you doing? Why do you don't even want to go back to school again, but you know how to go back to school. You know how to do this. And to your point, which is what we're both kind of saying, hopefully Tish will be someone that says, okay, stop. You have a brain that is literally locked in battle with yourself because you know how to do A. You just need someone to tell you that it's okay to do C, even if it's not comfortable for you.
I want Black women to stop going back to school, but not because so many times, I think for a lot of us, it's either the next expected step, it feels safe, it feels comfortable, or it feels acceptable. right? I think a lot
Yes.
of times for Black women, it's like we need something new, and that is something that feels acceptable, right?
Right.
But like, acceptable to whom? Does it matter?
Exactly.
Like at the end, I know people all the time who are like, I want to go back to school. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do at the end of it? And they're like, nothing different than what I'm doing now.
Right. I don't know. Right.
Take a vacation, girl. Like, take take a nap and then tell me how you feel. Because more school for why? More school for why?
Because we know how. Because we know how. And that's why I wanted to point out, like right before Exodus Summit last year, I was like, education is not going to get me there. Like being in higher education is fantastic. It sounds really good. The pay is not great. I don't want to have to wait 7 years every time I want to raise
Mhm,
because that's hard when you're trying
mhm,
to achieve or do something different when you know that your next pay bump may not come for 4 or 5 years because cost of
mhm,
living adjustments and end of the year bonuses, none of that exists in higher education. You get hired at a salary, you might get a small COLA depending on what the university's contract is, but you don't see another pay bump until tenure, until your first attempt at tenure. That could be 6 years. So I was sitting there going, okay, so let's see. If I go back to school and get a degree in, say, da 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 da, then I can add that on top of the degree. So um, it became, I was frustrated at the beginning of last summit, I think is what I'm trying to get to. I was in a place of frustration and I was looking for an answer for a problem that I had, and the summit answered that problem. Now, y'all had been answering that problem for me for a while because I've been not only in the summits, I've been part of the challenges, getting your first clients, the YouTube challenge. I've been in this community for a little while now. But I'm sure, as Tish will point out, imposter syndrome is a big thing, a huge thing that prevents a lot of us from going to take that next step that would get us everything we're asking for, but we just simply don't believe that we are entitled to it. So we just don't do it.
right, right. People, like, ladies in the comments are agreeing with no more school, y'all. In the Black community, put it
Stop going to
down.
school. Stop
Stop
going to
going to
school.
school, especially if you have to pay for it. Especially
Yes. Woo.
it,
Student
was a lot.
loans. Let me tell you.
Because even listen, when I
Mm-mm.
went to undergrad, the messages I received were like, "Yeah, it's like a loan, but like you'll have the money to pay it off later."
Thank you. Heard that too. Guess what? Not true. Woo, child. Hmm. As a lawyer,
What?
you might have actually, that might have been true for you. As an educator, let me tell you that we got the loans, we didn't get the salary to go with it.
What is
Mm.
going on? So yeah, girl, don't do that. Don't do that. Uh, so your accountability partner, Cicely, says sometimes school is actually procrastination in disguise, which facts. But Greta Cobb also said it gives us an identity, right?
It
You know,
does. Absolutely.
Sacheen, who's getting another degree. And that's probably more acceptable and respectable in a community than Sacheen, who is
Yes.
answering the call of the wild.
Oh, absolutely. If I say I'm going to school, oh, then go. If I just say, well, I just want to do nothing for 6 months and see what happens, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
That's
You want to, if I say I want to get my podcast going and I'm writing a book, what? And you're going to go and you're going to work too, right? And you're going to like, what else are you going to do on top of
great.
these dreams that you have?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Black women, we get that a lot. What else? So you want to be a what? But what else are you going to do? What else? Because what's going to give you legitimacy while you're pursuing your dream?
Because back to the indoctrination, it's not enough just to be alive, right? It's not enough to just be alive. Stephanie and I were on Alicia Bernice's channel this week, and we talked about
Yes.
Black excellence and Black girl magic, and how a lot of what we're tied to is proving our value to other people, even when deep down inside we know those other people will never see our value, right? A lot of what is, a lot of what has become markers of importance in our communities are ways in which we might impress white people who aren't thinking about us. Half of them aren't thinking about us. The other half are thinking about how they can continue to oppress us. Like impressing them when they're trying to oppress you, it's not a winning game, right?
No,
It's not. It's
no.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to drop the link here for the Exodus Summit community. And if you are not in there yet, we have a Facebook group. If you're on Facebook and you're a Black woman, please join us in this community. It is free. So even if you can't get a ticket to the summit, you can get some of the good vibes from the summit in Exodus Summit community. There's nothing summit related happening there, but a lot of the members of the community will be attending the summit. And it's such a great place to meet your future partners in crime, your future Golden Girls, your future Nettie and Celie. Like y'all are in this at the end, not the beginning, at the end of the movie. Y'all are in this together, right? And it's my favorite place on the internet because it's a place for Black women to show up in their truth, whatever their truth may be, and to be accepted for it. Yesterday, a friend of mine who's in the group was talking about her hesitance to accept a promotion. She's been offered a promotion. It's more money, right? And conventional wisdom is like, yes. And her gut is telling her no. And I don't know that there's a lot of safe spaces for women to show up and say, for Black women to show up and say, I've been offered this advancement in my career, but it's not for me. It's not for me at this time. And have other Black women saying like, it's okay, I understand, right? Because grind all day, sleep when you're dead, communities will have you like, why go to work if you're not going to get promoted, right? But no. All right. So this year at the summit, we are having, for people who have our all access pass, we are having salons. And the salons are going to be small groups where people can meet if they don't have their buddy yet, these are going to be organized around interests. So like people who want to RV. I don't know if we're having an RV. That's just an example. I don't know what groups we're in. Listen, I am not involved. There are very few things where I can say like, I am not involved. I'm not involved. Stephanie, what are some of our groups? Share them a comment. Because if it was up to me, there would be no Zoom sessions. And that's how you know Stephanie's a little bit more of an extrovert than I am. A little tiny bit more. She was like, no, they need community. They need to be together. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing it. That's a lot. If you've attended Exodus Summits in the past, you know what I'm talking about. But you left last year's summit with an accountability buddy, or was that your first year summit?
No, this was last year because we connected in the YouTube accountability or the YouTube talk. I think that was that Stephanie's talk last year, I think. Yes. Yeah, so we connected after that. And Cicely and I got together, which was fantastic. And then another couple of women and I got together after Minnie's talk for a while. And then I kind of drifted away from that because one of the things I did realize is that the overextension of myself is just a habit I'm trying to break. And I thought I could do like 5 things. So I had an accountability partner for literally like 5 things. And then I realized, yeah, that's not working. So I kept YouTube because that fits more in line with what I want to do. And Cicely has been my accountability partner since then.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So last year we did accountability groups around the different ways to make money. And some people love a big accountability group. They love being there like 30, 40 people deep. And some people like an accountability buddy. Either way, you were able to find that in the sessions.
Yes, absolutely.
Year. Last year, I also said 1,000 times. I know Stephanie said it too. Don't be trying to go to all the sessions and do all the things.
I mean, I listened. I just didn't.
But you didn't hear? Is that what happened? You listened, you didn't.
I thought I could do it all.
Yes. Yes. We specifically said go to as many sessions as you want, but don't try to do it. Like the 2022 sessions about move abroad money. There's so much money in there that the women were trying to collect it all like Pokemons. Like they were like, give me this and give me that, give me this and give me that.
Awesome.
Something happened. We were like, don't do that.
Oh
Right?
gosh, you're so right.
It encourages you to do less, just be. So we don't want y'all coming in and seeing that there are, 15 ideas. You're going to do 15 new things. And some people listened, but they didn't hear. So if you're getting the replays now for 2022 and you haven't heard us say this, don't try to do everything. Pick one thing.
Oh gosh.
Let it rock for a while. See for one thing for a couple of months and then try another thing for a couple of months. Don't try to do it all right now. Y'all do this every year. Stephanie and I see the pitfalls. Like we love y'all, but we know what y'all gonna do. We try to tell y'all, don't do this one thing. And then
it's like you said, do it though.
Do it. You heard do it. It's fine.
I heard do it.
Her too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Doing too much. All right. Some of the salons for this year, the accountability groups are going to be a little bit different. They're not based around ways to make money or where we're going, which was our I think the second year we had groups around where people are going. This year we have salons, which aren't really accountability groups, but they could be the start of accountability groups if you want to start one in this different salon. For slow travel, cruising, house sitting, sabbaticals at home, and many more things. There may be up to 20 salons.
Wow.
So this is very hard for me. Stephanie knows this. A lot of you guys don't know this. It's very hard for me to not know. Like not be involved is one thing, but not knowing what's happening for a part of an event I'm planning is like deep breath. So I'm working on my own issues this year by not knowing what's happening at the part of the event and being able to say like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. The email will come out. All the details will come in the future and I will know when you guys know, or I won't because I may not read the emails because I'm working on 1,000 things for the summit. If you're an all access pass holder, you'll be invited to the salons. Therefore, all access pass holders only, because Zoom has limitations on size and baby, you have to find a way to divide things up. You'll be invited to the salons. While the salons are going on, you will also have the option of a dance party. You know? You know? Okay, so this we're going to blame on Stephanie as well because she likes to add things. I was like, what if we just took a break? And she was like, what if there was a dance party? So on Saturday and Sunday of the summit, there is a dance party at the same time as the salons. And anyone is welcome to come to this dance party. So whether you're all access or weekend pass, you can go to a dance party. If you have the all access ticket, you don't want to go to any of the salons, the dance party is available for you. If that is a time in which you would like to take a nap, I invite you to take a nap. So very excited about that. Yes, we're going to get y'all up. I dash this, so we get up and move around. Yes, we're going to get you up. You're going to move around. At the end of the day, y'all are going to be sleeping because they're kind of long days. Brown Girls Invest too. Stephanie Perry is giving the ladies what they want. What y'all need is to nap. She's giving y'all what you want. I was trying to give you what you need, which is a break to sit down and be with yourself and your thoughts. We're going to Cape Town in February as a community. 100 women are going. There are still a few tickets available. And because they do Amapiano dancing in South Africa, we have an Amapiano dance teacher coming during the summit to give us lessons.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what this was because I don't. But yes, we're very excited about that. So we're going to learn some South African dancing before we go to Cape Town.
Wow.
And
that's the other piece, right? This community has grown into things like Exodus Summit, going to Cape Town. And last year you all went to
Marrakesh this year.
Thank you.
Beginning of this
Thank
year.
you, Marrakesh. But it's just that piece. Like, so for me, as someone who's been coming to the summit for a little while, the long journey, the long plan, each year I get a little more incentivized to do something different. And so
Okay.
this year I can't go to Cape Town, but next year I'm thinking, okay, maybe next year's I might be able to take the next trip. And that is only because I am a part of this community of people where I now see these things are possible. Of course, I might be in Japan next year, but we'll talk about that later.
Next year, the next trip, girl.
See.
Well, you talk to Stephanie about that one because I don't know about it, baby. I don't know. I
I
don't
know.
know.
I watch all the videos and the behind the scenes, and y'all are amazing. It takes a lot.
You can probably talk Stephanie into it. She's doing a lot right now. She said Japan might be close.
Oh, really?
I'm pleased to say I don't know anything about that. I don't know. I don't know about that.
All right.
So,
See?
I hope you are in Japan, and if you are in Japan, you can make your way to a close by location where Stephanie is hosting. Okay, so you and your accountability buddy. Let's talk about what this looked like over the past year. You met her at Access Summit 2022. Y'all said you were going to do YouTube together.
We did.
Has having an accountability buddy for a year done for you? I want to talk about the difference between an accountability buddy and a friend. So what has having an accountability buddy done for you for the past year that wouldn't have happened with your friendship group?
Oh, okay. So at the beginning, when we first started as accountability buddies, which was after the summit, I think, I'm not sure that she was in more than one. I know that I was in, I'm going to wave my hand. I was in too many. I was spread too thin, and I wasn't as focused on the YouTube piece. So we didn't hit the ground running per se, but we would talk about it. And then over the course of time, when I got clearer and more focused on what was important for me, it's really nice to have someone that I can bounce ideas off of, who understands the purpose of what we're doing. And we talk not just about the fact that YouTube is a vehicle that will help us grow an audience to Exodus, but how it can help us change our life financially, what kind of content might be out there. We give each other ideas on the kind of content that we could cover and that would look good. And though, yes, I could probably have these kinds of conversations with other friends, the key is that we had this connection that brought us together, which was a desire, number one, the summit, and then a desire to use YouTube in a certain way, not just as a consumer, but as a producer, as a creator. Those are not the kinds of conversations that I can have with a lot of people. Because even though I'm in academics, creation is just another journal article that I need to pump out. This is a very different kind of creation. This is a whole different ballgame. And so to have someone in the trenches with you who understands the frustrations behind getting content out, the procrastination that prevents you from just putting the darn thing out there and stop belaboring over whether or not it sounds good or not. The person who kicks you in the pants and says, have you watched this? So you need some motivation? Here, watch this person. She finds people and motivation in the most far-flung places and sends me a link, and I'll watch it. I'll be like, yes, that's exactly what I need to hear right now. It's cheerleading each other's posts to make sure that the algorithms, so that we get seen by other people. It's that kind of help in the process, as well as just somebody who you can say, I didn't do it this week, or I didn't meet my goal. I didn't get there. And not be judged for the not getting there, but instead be like, okay, so what you gonna do next week? So you didn't get there this week. What you gonna do next week?
Okay. And someone is listening to this, and they might think that does not sound like a lot, right? Someone is like, I can do that for myself, whatever. But what I want people to hear is that there were over 3,000 women who attended over 3,000 Black women who attended the summit last year. And I would say 90% of them walked away either with an accountability group or an accountability buddy. Everyone who wanted one had the accessibility to get one, right? And so if 3,000 plus Black women walked away with someone who is going to help them reach their goals in those moments when maybe they can't help themselves, this is a movement, and it's a movement with legs. Progress is being made, lives are being changed because someone like held out their hand and someone else took it, right? So Exodus Summit exists because I held out my hand and Stephanie took it. And later on, she held out her hand and I took it. And we kept holding out our hand to the other person, and the other person kept taking it. And now, years later, my God, 4 years later, we're about to put on our 4th and best ever summit in 5 days. I sent her a text last night and I was like, it's October tomorrow. And she was like, nah, dog. I said like, I don't know if you know, but it's October tomorrow. I still don't believe it. For people who haven't attended before, what's one thing you would tell them?
Oh, you're going to get overwhelmed. Just accept that you're going to get overwhelmed because there are so many gems that are going to get dropped on you. So just embrace the overwhelm. It'll make sense in the end. Embrace the chaos. It'll start to it'll shake itself out when it's over. Embrace the moments when you look in the mirror going, am I not doing enough? You're doing fine. Reach out and talk to the people, talk to the women. We've been there. I know you said one thing, sorry. But you are going to walk into the summit thinking that you know, and you're going to walk out thinking, I didn't know. Nobody told me. I didn't know. And that's a great place to start the next leg of your journey. So as overachieving women in the world who are so used to having all of our ducks in a row, the summit helps you see your ducks are floating in ponds that they have no business floating in. Let them go. Just let them go. And then when you're done with the summit, you'll figure out which ones you need to bring back.
All right. I love that. Where do you hope to be in 20 years?
20 years. I hope to be dancing with some amazing person on the beach in some amazing place, having had a fantastic life, retired, not semi-retired, retired and living off whatever largesse of my life is there, because I will only be 70 and I have a lot left to give after that. But my goal is to be dancing the nights away and spending the days doing absolutely nothing.
I love that for you.
Me too.
I know you mentioned that the women would be overwhelmed at the summit. And I am going to tell you she's not wrong. But what that means is that you can do less, right? You can take notes. If you have the weekend pass, you'll have access to the replays for 1 month. If you have the all access pass, you'll have access to the replays for 1 year. However much time you have, you can take that time. You don't have to do everything on day one, right? You're gonna hear me say something, and you're gonna be like, I need to do that. Stephanie's gonna say something, you're gonna say, I need to do that. Jamila is gonna say something when she gives her talk. You're gonna say about getting to fire. You're gonna say, I need to do that. All the speakers are gonna say, and you're gonna be like, ooh, that's for me. But take a nap, right? Create a plan. Put some dates on the calendar. I'm going to do this then, and then I'm going to do this then, and then I'm going to do this then. And don't do everything on the first day, because you will be like somebody whose name I'm not going to call, and you will be trying to do too much at once, right? You don't need to.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yes, come on.
Girl, I bought a stack of those one subject notebooks. I had one for each session. I had one.
I'm sorry, the video's over. The video, we're done. I lied.
Don't be me. I'm telling you, do not be me. I had a notebook for each one of the talks that I attended so that I made sure I didn't forget anything because I, like a lot of you listening, are overachievers. And we think that we can keep it all. We know we can't keep it all in our head, but we can write it all down. This is a product of being in school my entire life. I know how to take notes. Like I can take notes like a seasoned politician. I can take notes. I can do it. The problem is that just feeds to your overwhelm. This year, I have decided that first run through, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to take it all in. I know I didn't buy a stack of notebooks yet. It's only It's only Sunday though. So by midweek, I might fall off the wagon. But I have one notebook this year dedicated to writing down things that resonate in the moment. But I'm trying, hopefully Cicely will help me. I'm going to try to just listen and let the information come as it comes. But listen, a notebook for every session last year. Every session.
Okay, so I got to ask you, have you gone back to those notebooks?
I have. But I only went back to the ones after a year that make sense for where I am now. So I wrote a lot of stuff down that just it doesn't matter anymore because I'm just not, that's not the path I want to take. It took me doing that though to realize how much I was overwhelming myself because I felt like I needed to be able to speak on all of these things. You know, somewhere someone was going to ask me a question about some of this information and I needed to have it written down. No one's going to ask me about this information. No one. But that's the teacher in me that has to keep 1,000 things in their head.
That was what was up to my tongue. That's the teacher in her, y'all. But also, I think it speaks to something about us needing to be prepared instead of saying, see, I have gotten past, I used to be more like this. And now I'm like, oh, Sacheen knows. Let me give you her information, right? Like that is now my special skill is being like, no, I don't know anything about that. But you know who does? I know who does. That is listen, if there's something I am blessed with, my gift is being like, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Hold up. Let me think real quick. I know who that is because I can't hold all the information in my head. I can't find the notebook. If it was in a notebook, I can't find that notebook. I can't find that page. And if I can find the page, I can't read my writing, baby. What were those words? That just don't make
sense. What did I say? What? Well, you will be happy to know that when I moved 3 months ago, I did not bring all the notebooks with me. I did purge out the ones that I feel like I did not actually intend to ever go back to again. I only kept 3 of them. So I feel like that's progress. That's progress.
It's progress. Yoli says she didn't have different notebooks, but she had different colored pens for each session. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I get it. Listen, Stephanie says there's no quiz. There's no quiz.
But we think that you might one day ask us.
One of the things I love about Exodus, about the speakers we bring in, is most of them are coaches in the area. So if you want to work with them later on, you can work with them. I will never stop talking about Teen and our beautiful member in the community. Teen did a session last year about how to make more money in the job you have. Teen runs a company called Getting Black Women Paid. And that was what her talk was on. And she's coming back this year. Teen and Libri are coming back this year. Libri's going to talk about getting remote jobs. Teen's going to talk about getting more money at the job you have or getting another job to pay you more money than you're getting right now. One of our members was making $80-something thousand, did a session with Teen, and is now making 190 something. Like those every time I hear those numbers, I'm like, and you paid about $200 for a ticket. All right, to the summit.
So worth it. So worth it.
And you're making over $100,000 more. Like that ROI doesn't happen in a lot of places in life, right? It doesn't happen in a lot of places in life. And so the fact that every single session you attend this year is worth the price of the ticket you buy. Every single one. Unless you're attending things and you're like, I have no interest, I'm just attending this to prove Rashida wrong. No, right? Like every single session right? You attend on its own, even if you only attend, there's one session you want to attend. If there's only one session you want to attend, buy a ticket, attend that session. It will be worth the price of admission. It's crazy. It's crazy. Register, exodussummit.com for Black women. Location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom for Black women. To be in a community of Black women who only want the best for you, who come like lovingly with their best to inspire your best, can't beat it. There's nothing better on the planet. I don't know what else to say. What haven't we talked about? Not Exodus Summit related, but just your life related. What haven't we talked about on your journey?
Oh gosh. Well, probably a lot because I've been alive for 50 years. So there's 40 more years behind me.
Okay.
but I think we covered most of my journey. I just, I have a lot of irons in the fire still that are always out there. Don't give me that look. I always got irons in the fire, but I promise I'm not going back to school again. But it's important, I think, for me to at least say to a specific demographic of your audience, which is single mamas out there. It can sometimes feel like our dreams have to be deferred always, and they don't have to be deferred. And if I can tell you nothing else, you will meet someone in this summit who's also where you are or where you aspire to be, and they will show you that it can happen with your babies. Like, it's so inspiring to see the families moving around the world, the 2-parent families and the 1-parent families, and know that they're part of the space that you're moving in. So if you think, well, it can't be us, I thought my dream was at least another 10, 15 years away from me. And now I think it's 5 years away from me with my child. And so I just want you to not think that you're not included in the conversation, because you are. And we need to hear from you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, a lot of women, single parents, solo single parents, married single parents.
Yep, shared custody single parents.
or fully committed 2-parent households often feel like their dreams are naturally deferred because their dream isn't one that will is best for their children.
Yes.
But it's like, how are you determining what's best for your children? If you're determining what's best for your children by what they've always known, maybe it's time to see if you can climb up the wall and look outside of that box a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's exactly right.
I could not imagine, and I know I couldn't imagine raising Black children in America. And not because it's a bad choice, because for a lot of us, it has never felt like a choice.
Right.
But because it feels like all you would do is worry all the time. And
worry and work. That's all you do. Worry and work.
I'm tired with that. Without that. I couldn't imagine adding that to my life. And so if less worry and work in your child rearing journey are something you aspire to, come on, join us.
We can all use more location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom. We can all use it.
Sacheen is going to be there at the summit. She's going to be. What session are you super excited about this year?
All of them. Are you kidding? I'm still an overachiever. I'm an overachiever in therapy. I'm in rehab for overachievement. I just didn't get the notebooks, Rashida. I still got 8 different color pens right now. I'm working on this, I promise. In all seriousness, literally all of them, because I love all of them every time, because I'm sure I'm going to get something out of every single one of them. I'm just that kind of person. I'm in therapy for it. It's okay.
Go lay down.
I will take a nap. I promise. I will. And I will only stick to one notebook.
She don't even mean it. Look at her face. She doesn't even mean it. I bet you some money. There's more than one notebook. I bet you there's more than one notebook. She don't mean it.
I'm gonna try though. It's the intention here.
Really?
It is the intention. I will try. I'm gonna try. I am.
Is intention what we're valuing these days?
No, action is what we're valuing these days. So currently, one notebook, 8 pens.
Child, it's gonna be at least 2 notebooks. It's
At
fine.
least.
It's fine. There's no judgment here. There's a little judgment here, but
There's
there's
no judgment here.
no judgment here. Do however you got to do to get through. I will invite everyone to look at the schedule and each day pick a session you're going to skip. Pick a session to skip. It can be mine. It's okay. Pick a session to skip and say, I'm going to take a walk. Or maybe not skip, take it with you on the go, right? Where like you're not so focused because you don't need to hear everything.
True.
You don't need to hear everything in the moment. You're going to have everyone has at least a month of replays. Get a meal, walk, breathe, have a shower. Listen, our West Coast ladies, it starts at 5:30 in the morning. Dog, like, pick a session where you don't have to be glued to the TV and take a little break because y'all overachievers are doing too much. But I want to talk to people who think that you have to be an overachiever to do this, like Pisces Pret. I've been debating about next week and I can no longer do corporate America, but I feel like most women who are able to leave their jobs are so accomplished at executive levels with executive money, not me. Who wants to speak to this in the comments? Listen, our lovely co-founder, Stephanie Perry, left her job and traveled for a year on $14,000. She had $14,000 saved and she spent $14,000. Spent it all. Right? That doesn't mean that you need $14,000 to do this, right? It means that you need a plan. And Exodus Summit is a place where you create a plan. Right? I know there are a lot of women in our community who are not executives. Show up in the comments, y'all. Show up in the comments, y'all.
I'm executive.
No. We are. I'm going to say that for most people, money isn't the thing stopping you. Knowing how to use the money you have and maybe get a little more money, not an executive, right? Like we've heard so long from the Susies and the Daves and all them, you need to have, $17 million saved before you can make any move. And instead, what you need is a plan, a map, right? What you need is a map. A whole bunch of teachers in here saying, hey, I'm a teacher.
Teacher.
Right? You need a plan and you need to know how to use the money you have to get what you want out of life. And because life in other countries can be so much less expensive and less taxing than life in America, right? It's a lot of people end up having a more luxurious life when they move abroad, even after they quit their jobs. Right? Libria is going to come to the summit and talk to you about getting using AI to get a remote job. Teen is going to talk about the fact that you're underpaid because you are. If Pisces Pret, if you're a Black woman, I know you're underpaid. They're not paying you enough. Right? She's going to talk about how to get more money at the job you have, how to make the plan. It's the plan, it's the execution, it's making it happen. Right? That's what, it's not necessarily that you need to be an executive, right? And have like the executive income coming in for years. Is that you need to know how to use the resources you have, because so many of us have more resources than we think we have, right? And one of the resources you have is the Exodus Summit community. So Pisces Pret, I hope to see you at the summit next week. You'll see from the people for comments that so many women would not define themselves as executives making executive money, but they have a plan, they put the plan in action, they're making it happen. And I want that for you too. Anything else we need to talk about, Sacheen, while we're here, before we get out of here?
No, I can't believe it's happening in 5 days. I'm just so excited. So thank you so much for a chance to tell people to come and join us.
Yay.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm excited today. We'll see what happens Thursday. I'm not sure I'm going to sleep Thursday night or Friday night. I think it might be a little tense over here. Stephanie be making me work, y'all. I gotta blame it on her. Yeah, I gotta blame it on her. She blames it on me, I blame it on her. It's fine. We got work to do. So yes, we're very excited about the summit. Everything's coming together. Like we said, the keynote speakers, Tabitha Brown, Rachel Cargill, Dr. Joy Harden Bradford, Octavia Rahim's doing a rest session, and then we have 24, I think, total women who are coming to talk about, or 23 total women are talking about actions that you can take today to get yourself a step further down the path that you want to go in. So this summit isn't about what we want for you, it's what you want for yourself and helping you get there. You know, a talk on procrastination is going to help everybody get to where they want to go, right? Dr. Mariel Bouquet's talk on breaking generational curses is going to help. No matter where you're heading, that's going to get some weight off your shoulder, right? I see Jade. Hey, Jade, I see you in the comments talking about the intervention your family did for you because you're moving to Mexico City. By the way, I got to see you while you're here. Let's get some of that off your back, right? Like, lovingly, let's free ourselves from the people who don't want us to do the things we want them to do. Lovingly free ourselves, right? Yeah, I want this for all of you guys. So come to the summit. It's going to be amazing. I think you guys watching here already know this. We are still accepting donations. I saw the emails have been coming in. Y'all sending money. I like that. So yes, so we are excited about all of this and cannot wait to see you. We'll be in the Exodus Summit Facebook group and I think our Exodus Summit YouTube channel on Wednesday, answering any last questions. And then on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Eastern time, the summit starts with the kickoff from Stephanie and I cannot wait for that. You guys.
It's here.
It's here. That scream was probably a little loud in the microphone. Sorry, y'all, but I'm very, very excited about the summit, and I hope you guys are too. We are going to do it. All right. Thank you, guys. Mamas, this one was for you. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.